Devon. Wait, I was about to say your full name. What should I call you? I feel like I need like a Dio Brando name for you. Devon Devus.
Devus Devon. I actually
Okay,
think
fine.
Devus Devon sounds a little bit better.
Right, okay. Devus Devon, I have had it up to here with your attitude. It's time that we finally talk about the animes that we've watched. I've been waiting months for this, training my body, channeling my Harmon, and I will beat you.
Sounds pretty good, Space Cowboy. I guess we should get into it.
I didn't expect that. Hello,
I
everyone.
was trying to match.
Devon and I have watched. Okay, so we should set the scene. We have watched two different anime series. One that. Okay, so Devon has watched something that I have suggested, and he's watched something that I've. Wait. He suggested to me. I'm making a mess of this. We've watched two different anime series. Today we're going
I'll say something here. I
to.
watched Cowboy Bebop, and Scott watched JoJo. He recommended Bebop. I recommended the JoJo. So he's
Yeah,
actually only seen parts 1 and 2 so far, but he has three. So it's
yes.
coming. So
Yeah, so we felt like even though it wasn't the full picture, it's like I'd already seen part one, but I'd forgotten all about it. So really, it was more like the part two
to be
section
fair,
of.
parts 1 and 2 is about 25 episodes in total, which is about what Cowboy Bebop was with 26.
I think it's
So
26.
it
I feel
is.
like
It
it
is. It
was
was 26.
accurate. Yeah. So
So
like it was good. Like it matched up, and
it was an
we weren't
equivalent
like jumping
exchange.
around. Yeah, yeah. At least I wasn't planning on jumping around. I was thinking we should like let's discuss JoJo first and then Bebop. I think
We
that's
could
fair.
do
So
JoJo 1, then Bebop, and then JoJo 2. You know, kind of sandwich it in
see.
there.
But I feel like I don't actually have a lot. I mean, you might have questions about JoJo, which I actually would welcome. Because here's my thoughts on JoJo, and here's why I'm like, yeah, maybe if
If
we
you're going
just
to
do
say you
that,
don't have a lot to say about JoJo Part 1, that is understandable. It is like 8 episodes total.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
I get that.
that's
Yeah,
my thought.
if we want
So
to if you want to just yeah, whatever
let's
you
handle
want
the
to do.
JoJo of the situation.
All
Let's
right.
do that first. So for context, as I previously said, I have watched I think it's 9 episodes, 9 or 8,
Mhm.
um, of part one. I'd seen that years ago. I'd watched it with my flatmates I had at university, and
That's British
we
for
didn't finish
college. Sorry, don't mean to
it.
interrupt.
Well, we were watching it and then we stopped, and then I watched the last few episodes on my own, but I didn't really remember it. But I remember being like, yeah, it was the British one. That was iconic to me. I have to be honest though, rewatching it, I was like, I did not enjoy it. I was actually like, do I even keep going with this? But I was like, I feel like I need to for the challenge. I was really worried. I actually spoke to my friend Michael about it, and Devin always gets upset when I say my friend Michael because he knows who
I
Michael is,
know
but
who
I'm doing
Michael
it for
is.
the audience. God damn it! I spoke to him, and he was like, it does get better. I
Mhm.
would say watch a few episodes of part two. Because I didn't want to come in here and hate it. But I was not enjoying it really. I was like, kind of like I remember certain things. I didn't like how random it was. It felt like the randomness didn't. It's funny too because I like the randomness of part two, but I won't talk about that yet.
Mhm.
But here it really just felt like we're just pulling it like out of nowhere. Like that's why I do
So
the like
it is
speak back
interesting
thing.
because
Yeah,
I would say that almost every part of JoJo kind of has its own unique feel, and it's partly because of the fact that they typically have different casts of characters, which isn't entirely accurate for you because part 1 and 2 actually does have some of the carryover characters, but like typically in the different parts, we're getting basically an entire new cast for the most part, and really there's always a little bit of carryover to connect it back to like what we've seen so far,
yeah,
but like they have different vibes, generally different, like I don't know. And a lot's going to change as well from part two to part three because we are going to move away from Hamon entirely going forward and switch into stands, which will be like the mainstay for the series going forward, which
Yeah,
already is going to be a lot different in that sense.
I
There's
guess
so much
what
about it that's different, like between
what
each
I
part.
liked about part two over part one is part one would just use it as like a get out of jail free card. It was like, okay, in Doctor Who, when the Doctor's stuck in a situation, he'll just like use a sonic screwdriver and he'll get out of the situation. That's what Harmon was used for. But in part two, it's like, oh, I'm going to use it to like actually influence the fight and like, oh, there was a bit more to it. Like I'm thinking of a situation like the whole chariot fight was just so engaging because it's like, oh, I'm going to do this, but it wasn't like I used my hormone and won the fight. It was I did this to do that, and like it was like, oh, okay. So even though this is all out of nowhere and bizarre, it works a lot better in part two. So I'm just going to say this. The joke used to be like, yeah, I stopped watching JoJo when it stopped being British and like I won't like the rest of it. Part two is leaps and bounds better. I was like, it went from like I don't know if I can watch this to like oh I'm intrigued. Like where is this going? The pacing is better as well. Like
Hmm.
we spent 3 episodes of the precious nine getting to Dio and like doing this whole Castlevania thing. And I even felt like that was it for the final fight, but then like there's so much that happens in like part two where
Hmm.
I was like, how are we like this feels like it could have been the climax and it just keeps building and building and the actual climax of part two, like this whole like I'm going to like, send oh pardon me. I'm going to send them into space and
By the way, spoiler warning for anyone, in case that wasn't very obvious.
but
I mean, we
I
hadn't
thought
really
it
had
was
to bring it up before, but yeah.
true, true. Yeah, spoilers. They send the baddie into space, and it starts playing. I think it's the part one theme. Oh yeah, this is my sort of thing. Like I would say, and you might think that's really rude of him to say, but I would say JoJo is like a great like popcorn blockbuster. It's not something that's going to make me think about like oh yeah like Bebop makes me think about like, myself and humanity and all that, but JoJo is just pure fun. At its like in its prime in part two, it is pure fun. Yeah, part two has some issues for me. Like I wouldn't say I was like there was moments where I was like, okay, like I'm not like, oh, I want to see what's happening next. I never actually thought, in most cases, the to be continued made me like, oh, I want to find out like how this connects. But I much preferred the vibe. It was like a solid like 8 out of 10 for me in those episodes. Much prefer the JoJo there. Like all the characters. I think the biggest issue with part two I have is I can't remember her name, but like the girl that ends up being his mum. Uh,
Oh, wait, the one that ends up being JoJo's mom,
yeah, yeah.
Lisa.
I yeah. She's so cool. She is so cool, and like she has like a brief battle, and I was just waiting for her to have this like cool. Okay, I get it. It can't be with the main villain, but there should have been like one of the sort of like. There should have been an episode where she just shows how cool she is because she looks cool. She's so cool, and then immediately the guy's like, "I tricked you." Ha 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 ha. I'm like, I get it. It's called JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, but Caesar had a whole episode where, like, yes, he lost, but he was like showing how strong he was, and like put up a good fight. And I think it was ACDC was like, "You put up a good fight, but fuck you."
So a couple of things. One, I have something that I have to tell you after this video, which I'm not going to say here. Two,
Yeah,
I will say they do a much better job of letting other characters shines in parts going forward. Like part three, I can think that there's there's a lot of episodes where like a lot of the characters get their episode to really shine, like each part of the cast, and that's something that they really do kind of fix going forward. Um, but yeah, I don't let me forget about the thing I have to tell you about later.
But
But I
I'll write it down.
yeah,
I'll write it
write
down.
something down because I have thoughts that I will not say here, but I will. I do want you to know I have thoughts.
Well, I don't know if it's this or not, but I'm going to say it anyway. The whole incest, like, no, it's not incest, but JoJo's like, Lisa's pretty hot, actually.
I
And
mean,
then it's
was
like,
he wrong?
um,
She's an attractive woman, you know.
yeah, but he's like, I wonder if I can watch her.
Okay, and that's the that is problematic. I will say that.
Yeah, and I'd need to look back, but I'm almost certain, like, the audience. Okay, so you don't know until maybe like 6 episodes before the
We
end.
do not know in that scene. I'm pretty sure in that scene we do not know that
We
that is his
don't.
mom yet.
But there's an episode where it's like, oh, Lisa's the mother. No, sorry. Lisa's the girl in this picture. But I'm almost certain they. I need to check if it was narration or maybe I just happened to read it somewhere or maybe this is actually what happened. But I'm almost certain someone said like, oh, and Lisa. Oh no, not Lisa. The girl in this picture married the Joestar here and had a son, and that was Joseph Joestar. I'm almost certain we knew that. So when you found out, like Lisa's gone in the picture, and then they do like a big reveal about like, oh, Lisa's your mother. I'm like, we know. Again, I could be wrong. I need to look back. Um, and here's the thing: when I had part one as a DVD to bring it back to part one, I was like, I don't know if I'll actually rewatch this because, and I was like feeling very bad about that to have it in my collection because you bought it. But I was like, you know what? It's a memory. It's Devus Scottus memory. Part two, I went. I'd watch part one just to understand part two again. Part two is great. It's such a fun. Like, I'm trying to remember some of my favorite moments. Like, I do love, um, like the the German guy.
Dude,
Like
he
he's
was the
so
coolest
chill.
German guy there was. And it's kind of problematic when you think about like what he actually like stood for afterwards. But like they paint him as such a cool guy during the part.
It's well, because it's weird too, because it's like you damn Germans. Like the Germans are all right, actually. Do you think Joseph Joestar has Austin Powers energy?
I am trying to think about in what way, but if you give me a minute, maybe I could try to come up with some connections.
I'm just thinking this whole like he's pretty cool actually. You could yeah he's pretty cool baby. Like it's a similar like
I don't know if
shouting.
I would say maybe the like maybe a bit of the energy, but I don't know. I think past that, I don't know if I would really say, you know who Joseph Joestar really reminds me of? Austin Powers.
Yeah, maybe. I'm going to Google and just see. Is there anything that I should be remembering that I'm like, oh yeah,
What did you think of the
the
Pillar
pillar
Men?
men.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's in
I
the.
okay, so I was actually initially thinking like, oh, I don't know if I like this sort of direction. I didn't like in part one that even though I love this aesthetic normally, I was not enjoying the whole like Castlevania y thing, and when I saw like the jungly temple sort of thing for the Pillarmen, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. But then I was sort of won back with it started with Zemnis. It was the Zemnis voice actor playing. I think it was ACDC. It's whoever was in the chariot. Like he was
Oh,
just
Chariot's Wamu,
yeah.
and Wamu rules.
Yes, that's it. That's it. Yeah. So it was an early moment with him, like, "Oh, wait, that's Zemnis. And then I just liked the whole group. I did like them as villains.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's funny how, like, again, this just shows how insane this series is. There are four Pillarmen, at least that I can remember. But because like the first one gets dispatched so quickly, they only really refer to themselves as a trio. It's like, what was the fourth one?
So
They're
to
like,
be
I didn't
fair,
last.
they did say at one point that like the fourth one was more of their servant specifically.
Oh, did they? I
Yeah,
must not have
he
caught.
was a lesser status than the other three,
Yeah,
which is why
I
they
can.
just kind of were like, no, we're the trio. He was kind of like our manservant.
I'll say this too. Like, this just shows like there must be something in the energy of part two. You know how I keep quoting Speedwagon, or at least doing an impression of him.
Hmm.
I hated him in part one. He was one of the
Oh,
reasons I hated it because he was just announcing everything, and that's why like I
but
started
that's
doing
why
the
it's
voice
so
thing again.
funny. That's why I love
But
Speedwagon.
I was so sad when he went away in part two, like, and he died. I'm like, so he's never coming back.
Yeah.
I had to Google it. I was like, please tell me like there's an ancestor, but he never had children. I'm like,
No, his
no,
that's the end of his
please.
bloodline there.
Yeah. I need I need to find some of the songs from this, like some of the background songs. Like I love the Pillarman song that like plays when they're
Oh
like
yeah.
we're the Pillarmen, like doing all that. I love Joseph Joestar's sort of look. Again, like he is a character that could have been annoying, but just something about him is so good. I do
So
like
I will say,
Jonathan. I do
ironically,
like
so I start off liking Jonathan when I went through the series for the first time. Joseph and Jotaro and Josuke, which will be part four, and you won't meet him yet. Every single time we got to a new protagonist, I hated them at the beginning. I was like, this.
really.
I was like, how you don't even live up to the legacy. And it was always the person before I, like, when it got to Joseph, I was like, this guy's a punk. He's not a gentleman like his grandfather was. And then it gets to Jotaro, and I was like, he's not as cool as Joseph was. And then I meet Josuke, and I was like, he doesn't have half the aura that Jotaro does. Like, it was always just a theme of, like, every time I met a new one, I was like, you aren't as good as the last one was. And then by the end, I'm always like, oh, I like them. They're awesome.
I did think it was funny how they like introduced this as like, okay, so we've had British JoJo, now we'll have an American style JoJo. That lasts one episode, and like the JoJo is British again. So I thought like, okay, so they didn't really do like an American JoJo like they said they were going to.
I mean,
Like
he
I'm
came
with
to
you, like I love
America.
the JoJo. He did. He did. I love the globe-trotting adventure that they end up having. I think that was a really good format. I tell you what I'm worried about for part three is okay, part one, I already thought like 9 episodes and they didn't really use it that well. Like, I feel like it took 3 episodes to get into it. Part two had an easier job because they've already done the mask, like you sort of know that's a big deal, but it just got straight into the action. It was like, this is really good. I typically have that issue with a lot of like long running anime. It's like I remember watching the first few episodes of Attack on Titan and it took a few episodes to what I would have included in the first episode was actually like episode 5. So what I'm maybe concerned about is maybe in part two I would have cut like I would have maybe cut elements and condensed it by like 1 or 2 episodes. Whatever. Ultimately it's fine. I'm mostly concerned about part three and beyond, where the episodes I've been told there's lots of maybe not filler, but it doesn't have a strong pacing. I do almost prefer my JoJo to be like, here's a strict adventure, we're going from here to here to here.
I will
Maybe there's
say,
like a few episodes that linger, but
I
yeah,
find
I'd be
this
curious how that
I find
goes.
this very ironic coming from the man who willingly decided to start One Piece.
Yeah! Well, I'm gonna be king of the pirates! I was
Goes
watching that today.
1,000 episodes and counting. But you know, I really like a tight story. It's like, what are you talking about?
Look, look, I'm going to be king of the pirates, Devon.
That is more episodes then if you combined like all of Naruto and its filler, all of Dragon Ball Z and its filler, you get maybe like 3/4 of what One Piece is currently and still going.
Yeah, I looked it up, and according to this, there's 831 episodes of every Dragon Ball series.
Yeah. Like you don't even get close to what One Piece is doing, and that's why I'm like, this man is talking about like, well, the pacing of it. It's like, do you know how? I don't know. I'm not going to I'm
No,
not going to get into it, but my point is,
I know the irony of that, but I find there's something about One Piece so far. I'm 49 episodes in, where I am just it's almost quite cozy for me. Like I love the building of that. When when JoJo isn't doing that. Oh, I'll tell you a JoJo moment I like. I loved the like training, like you have to fight this person and then like JoJo like shows up and the guy's dead and he's like, oh no, I've got to fight ACDC. um, and then yeah, that's a good one. This is so many good moments. Really enjoyed it. I loved the like I, I can't believe it. JoJo's being a coward. He's running away. And he's like, I think I managed to escape.
I love
um,
it. The Joestar family technique, run away. If you think you're done with that,
yeah,
buddy, get ready because that's gonna stick around. That's gonna be a common theme.
but I mean, it worked.
It
He wasn't
works.
really.
I love
Yeah,
that. I love that there's a anime protagonist that's like, time to use my secret plan, and he just fucking blows.
yeah. So basically, the arc of this was I went from like, yeah, I don't know if I'll be watching this beyond the challenge. Like, I mean, like, I think I can make it to the end, do the challenge, and then like stop. Just be like, I don't think this series is for me. But now I'm like, okay, like one wasn't decent, but like two was good, and everyone seems to say like one isn't good. Um,
Well,
I had an Inglorious
I
Bastards
like
moment
all of them.
where
I like all
yeah,
of them. I can understand why people would be less drawn to one. And honestly, surprisingly, which I don't know if you've heard, not a lot of people care for two either. A lot of people don't care until you get to the stands, and that's when people are very interested.
see, I was looking up. I was like, yeah, like, what are the like parts ranked? Like, what are people going into this thinking? Sort of like that, and it seemed like people were like, yeah, two is the best consistently. Like people would say, like part three has the highest highs, but it is just held back by some of that filler. I don't know why I'm holding my pen. I don't need it, but I like holding a pen sometimes. Um, so yeah, I'm excited for part three. I do want like a bit of like a break from it, not because I'm like burnt out, but I
No,
do
I
think like
mean,
this is a natural start.
yeah, I mean, you have two different like DVD sets, which also feels like it'd be a natural stopping point too.
Yeah, yeah. I just think I get it now. Wait, Michael said it best. He watched part one and he was like, "This is the JoJo that everyone talks about. Like, I don't think it's that good. I'm not like that into it."
Hmm.
Um, but then he got to part two, like, ah, yes, I'm into it. I'm really a big fan of this, and yeah, I was a fan. Like, is it my favorite thing ever? No. Do I like it quite a lot? Yes. I think it was a lot of fun. It reminded me of just. I remember. I don't know if I would still have this opinion, but the Power Rangers film from 2016. I remember watching that in the cinema, and I remember being like, I had fun with this film. It wasn't amazing, but it knew exactly what it was, and that's why I liked it. I did not know that JoJo was like something from the 80s and 90s.
And
It's
still
normally like
going.
anime animations. Yeah, they're like, oh, we will like make some and then just immediately do it. But they were like not doing anything with it for a while. I think they made a film, maybe like a short
There
special,
was the
and that was
OVA, which was specifically
yeah.
based on part three, but it is hard to find any like remnants of it. Like you'll only find clips online. Like the actual like film of it is kind of like lost to time.
I don't know if you know this about me, but I am fascinated by lost media.
Yeah,
Did you know Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games is lost media?
I did not.
Potentially. Yeah, well, okay, it could become lost media because this is the 2021. They've just delisted that game on the eShop. So that went from like I saw it in dollars, so I'll say it in dollars. It went from a $20 physical game to like 60
Yeah.
pre-owned overnight because it was delisted. Because people were like, "What do you mean it's got?" I think that's incredible. That that can just happen. But yeah, I'm curious about it. I is there any sort of facts that you think I should know? Like, oh, you might not know this about part one, part two.
So I've said this before and I'll say it again. So obviously, I'm sure by this point you know that Dio is a big villain in part 3. Um
Yeah,
it his death was intentional when it came to part 1, and obviously part 2 he's not present at all. But going forward, Araki, the author of JoJo, kind of realized that like Dio was literally like his best villain, and he was just so upset that he had gotten rid of him so quickly. And so obviously a rewrite actually happens, like, and I don't, you haven't started part 3, right?
no, I haven't. No.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to say too much about that, but you'll notice it immediately at the beginning of part 3 because you'll be like, well, hold on, wait, that doesn't seem quite right. And it almost made me confused because I was like, the timeline's not almost adding up here. And it intentionally kind of doesn't, because they were like, we have to kind of just retcon this. So it's very interesting to start off with a retcon at the beginning of part 3 like that. And something else that's very
Yeah.
interesting as well is, you have probably seen a little bit of it, but you will see it more dramatically when we get to part 4 specifically. The art style does change a lot throughout the show, and it's not because of an animation thing. It is actually because it's based on the manga style changing. Araki himself, he draws all of this. He actually changes his art style as it goes through like the different parts. Like when it comes to parts 1, 2, and 3, it was more like beefy boys and like big muscles and stuff like that. But when we get to like 4, they start to like slim out and be just like normal proportioned real people. And that it's something that kind of like carries over, and like the shading and everything changes. And like the anime has tried to be very like faithful to the way that Araki did his actual parts. Like they've tried to match how his mangas looked at those times,
Yeah.
which is why it's such a like shift. And like the biggest easiest way to see it will be Jotaro himself, because Jotaro shows up in multiple parts as well, and he has like such a like changed appearance in each, where you're like, wow, he looks so much different there. And
Yeah.
it's just
And
so interesting from that standpoint.
what I should have mentioned this because this was a manga and I've not read the manga or even looked at it, but one of my favorite things about watching an anime that was based on the manga is like just trying to predict like if there was an iconic frame from the animation. Like, oh, I bet that was like a classic page from like one of the manga, and like I've had that with One Piece. I'm like, oh, I bet this was like a big deal when this like showed up, and like that's a lot of fun. I remember I did have to like look up the Dio thing, like because I was like, that's it, he's dead. Like he must come back. But before I did that, I had like my suspicions, and I actually thought, Caesar looks a lot like Dio. That's what I thought. It was
So
like his son, or there was like
it
some
is
connection
really
there.
interesting. I think part 2 is literally the only part that doesn't have at least some reference or tie to Dio or his legacy. Like every single part can at least in some way go back to Dio. But part two specifically, I think is like the only one where like maybe if you're really stretching it, you could talk about how the very beginning villain in part two was like, I saw Dio and he was beautiful and I wanted to be like him, so I put on this stone mask.
Yeah.
But
There's
like,
the mask, and then there's like Dio killed my father. Like there's a few like Dio names sort of dropped in, but I mean like there's nothing much. It's not like I'm Dio
and
Brando and I've returned.
I also want to say it's not like he's centric to every plot either. Like at the beginning of 4, it's kind of like hey, you know, there was this man named Dio, or and then like in 5, similarly at the beginning he's mentioned. I will say he's somewhat like tied to the events of part 6 as well.
Okay. One of my concerns with the series, which has since been proven wrong, is
Mhm.
because I knew like oh each part has a JoJo. I was convinced somehow that like it would be like different generations of like various characters. So like Speedwagon shows up, but it's like, oh, I'm an ancestor of Speedwagon. It's sort of like I don't know how I would describe it, but like it's like the whole it's poetry because it rhymes thing where it's like, oh, we're in different situations, but like there'll always be a mask. Dio will always show up. He'll always put the mask on. There'll always be brother. And I was just like, I'll get really repetitive. So I was
Nah.
glad that I was wrong about that, and I don't know where I got that from. That was like how I thought the Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers. I had this like image in my head, which I actually wanted. This is maybe the opposite. I had this image in my head of the Two Towers having this like, bridge, and there'd be like a massive fight on the bridge where it's like, Frodo, you've got to get to the other side. And it's like, ching, 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 ching. And then I was so disappointed when I watched that film. I was like, the Two Towers didn't really do much. So I was glad to be wrong about this. Uh, so yeah, anyway, uh, yeah, don't think I have anything else to bring up about JoJo.
Yeah. I'm gonna say
So
I think my closing thoughts on JoJo is just that like I'm excited for you to watch part 3. I know you said you're taking a break. I will say part 3 is kind of going to establish what a lot of the show kind of is going forward, because obviously that is when stands are introduced, and like before it's almost it's stands aren't around at all. It's very much focused on Hamon for parts 1 and 2, and then part 3 is where stands are finally introduced, and stands are part of the show from like part 3 all the way to like part 8, where I think it currently is, no, because I think maybe part 9 exists as well now. But like I said, stands are such a mainstay that it's kind of like when you
yeah,
get to part 3, you really kind of understand what JoJo is about. I don't know.
yeah.
But I wanted to say that, and I'm excited, and I'm glad that you watched the first two, and I like that you enjoyed part two, because part personally, I do actually really enjoy part two as well. I think it is.
It,
I think most
yeah, it's not your
people, yeah, I think a lot of people really are like part three is when JoJo officially starts because of the stands. But I think it's kind of a disservice to, at least at the very least, disclude part two, because part two is so much fun, and I love Joseph Joestar.
I would be curious to go back to part one for a third time and be like, okay, now that I know the payoff is there, do
Mhm.
I go back to enjoying this? Like, does it swing back round for me? And maybe it does. And now I mean, if I was watching part two again, which I could see myself doing, I'd be like, I've got to watch part one. So, I, yeah. Anyway,
All
it's
right.
your turn, then. I think it's time we get the scene, get everybody in their stuff together. Three, two, one, let's chat.
Oh,
That's the
I
intro.
realized. Yeah, I realized what you were doing now. I was about to go like a blah blah blah. Look at all this stuff I'm not editing in here, and do something like that. But no, I realize now that's not what we were doing. So, starting off with Bebop. So, ironically, I did try to start this show before you recommended it to me. And I don't know if I've
Really?
told you that before, but I have actually tried to start it in the past. So, I watched a YouTube series, which is a little comedy set sketch series, which I am going to fully recommend to not only everyone on here, but to you as well, Scott. It is a YouTube little series called Anime Crimes Division, where they reference all a bunch of like popular anime and stuff like that. Like I can tell you for a fact, Gundams, Evangelion, Full Metal Alchemist, Yu-Gi-Oh, Naruto, like so many things are referenced, and it's a live action series of like this guy who's like yeah, we live in Anime City. There's a bunch of crime going around here. And it's so like goofy, silly, and it's a comedy series, and I would fully recommend it because it is what actually inspired me to watch Cowboy Bebop because they did a reference to Cowboy Bebop's like final scene at the end of season 2 of Anime Crimes Division with a certain character going bang. So I knew that going into it, and they were like, "Oh no, one of the saddest scenes in anime. He's going to do the thing," and he just says that, and so I knew that going into it. And that was why I saw that and I was like, okay, they recommended that I watch Full Metal Alchemist. So I watched that. I watched all of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, loved it. And then they also referenced Cowboy Bebop and I was like, okay, well, I love Full Metal Alchemist and they recommended that, so I'll go watch Cowboy Bebop now. Um I decided I was going to watch the first couple of episodes of Cowboy Bebop as I was doing chemo treatments. And I don't know if you remember the first episode of it, but it is them injecting stuff into themselves. And the I actually one of my chemo treatments was a bag full of red liquid they called the Red Devil that they injected into me, and it burned the inside of my body and made me feel horrible. So seeing that made me nauseous. And I was like, I don't think this is for me. I'm not gonna watch more of this. I'm like, I already feel like absolutely horrible, and they're also just referencing people injecting like red stuff into themselves,
Yeah.
which is also what's happening to me. Like, I couldn't even
Oh
be
my god.
around people drinking like my dad used to have water bottles full of like a red Mio that he would drink, and that would just make me nauseous anytime I looked at it. Like, I would genuinely like start gagging. So I fell off of it after that, and it wasn't until like years later. What is it? 5 years later, because technically I started it last year.
Yeah.
Uh, 5 years later. Well, no, 6 years later, because it was 2019. No, could have been 2018. Point is it was a long time after that I finally come back to it, and I'm watching the first couple of episodes, and I'm like, ah, I remember I didn't like this, and I don't feel like much has changed at the moment. And it wasn't. And then like I got to episode 4 and I was like, okay, this was kind of fun. At least I'm kind of getting into it now. I did write down it wasn't until Jet's backstory at the episode of Jet's backstory that I was like, "Oh, okay, I get what this show is now and I actually do like this." So
Yeah.
it took
So
me a moment to actually get into the show. But when I finally got to that episode, I was like, okay, because like my mind was like, well, what's the point of what we're doing here? Because
you're probably like, why did Scott like this so much?
well, at the beginning I was just like, it's just a bunch of like people running around space doing fuck all and like random villain of the week things each day. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't get it. And it was like at that episode with Jet's backstory, I was like, okay, no, this whole series is just telling stories about people, which
Yeah.
is cool, and I like that.
And I don't know how accurate this is, but when you were watching it on behalf of me last year, and you started and you sort of like jumping in now, I do remember you saying, I like this more now. You were like, oh, these are fun. That's what you left it
I
as.
like it. I
I,
liked it marginally better than I did last time, which I will
yeah,
say,
I think you were mostly like
because I wasn't getting
if you
nauseous
saw
watching it
this,
anymore. So
yeah, if you saw it as like just randomly on TV, you'd probably watch it, but you were struggling to like sort of keep
yeah.
up with it and
Well, the
do
thing
that. And
was,
I
is
just
like I
kept
said
seeing to
at the beginning, it didn't feel like there was really an overarching plot at all. And I guess in a way there kinda isn't. Like there is, but there isn't. You know, it's not like there is an overarching plot, but it's not super important to the story that they tell overall.
yeah. So I have a okay. So for context here, this is uh, we may have referenced it in other videos. We may have referenced it in this video. Cowboy Bebop is at this stage my favorite anime. It used to like before rewatching the series last year. This was an 8 out of 10 series for me. But then, uh, long story short, because I think we have mentioned this before, but we'll do it anyway. Uh, I was my best friend. Where's my book? There it is. My best friend years ago gave me The Perks of Being a Wallflower. And inside the book, they not only signed it with a lovely message, but they wrote in the book and wrote their own thoughts as they were experiencing it. And it is the best gift I have ever been given. I absolutely adore it. I'm obsessed with this book. It is so important to me. And for years, I was like, I wonder what I could do for that because I like to read, but I'm not a fast reader, and I don't really see it like I do film and television. But then I came up with that idea, like, why don't I do that? But then I'm like, well, how do you annotate a book? Or how do you annotate a film or a TV series? And the answer to that was you make your own book analyzing it. So for a big part of like basically the first 6 months of 2025, I wrote a book analyzing Cowboy Bebop, and and then the reason I picked that was because I was like, oh, I'd actually really like to explore this. It'd been a few years, see what it's like again. There was a quote that I kept thinking about, which became my quote of the year, which I'm going to paraphrase it so I'll get it wrong, which is, I'm not going there to die, I'm going there to find out if I was ever really alive. That was my like big philosophy because that was the year I was moving back home. That was the year if I was going to find out like, am I meant to be back home? Is this my home still? So that's what made me want to watch it. But then I was like, you know what? I actually feel like if I can find something from here, maybe this is what I can do for Holly for like a big goodbye gift. And that's when I fell in love with it. And the reason I bring all this up is I could actually make a case how there is not like a overarching plot when it's like, and then this happened and it leads to this and leads to this. But I think character wise, there is a clear arc for each of the characters. Like
Yeah,
Spike,
I'm more
they,
meant that like
they
not every episode is playing into a plot.
yeah, yeah. But and I 100% I would agree with you because the main thesis of the series that has been written actually, you know how they do like the cards in between the episode where it's like here's where an advert would have been and it's like random pictures. There's one that says, let me pull up the quote of it, because it is basically the thesis of Cowboy Bebop in terms of what they were trying to do. Um, is let's see. Uh, the work which becomes a new genre itself will become Cowboy Bebop. And that was their philosophy is they wanted each episode to be a different genre. I actually do feel like they succeeded in doing that. Like except for like part one, part twos, where it's like, okay, this is clearly the same story, but fundamentally we have maybe 24, 25 different stories with their own unique thing, and they all just have this science fiction, steampunk, jazz influence, which we've never
If
talked about this on
I
Devus Scottus. I love jazz.
if I had to try to describe the genre of Cowboy Bebop, I would basically say a sci-fi western noir style anime.
Yeah. I think that's if you were going to put it in, and I do think that's fair, like because it is. I think it being cowboys and bebop.
I mean,
um,
cowboys, bounty hunters, in space with a lot of jazz and kind of the smoking motifs and the
yeah,
like, I knew a dame once kind of thing. Like that's very noir.
yeah, it is. Now, I do want to talk about spoilers, but because you brought up jazz, I have
I
to
mean,
ask.
you kind of brought up jazz.
Yeah, yeah, no, but you said jazz there, so I'm like,
I did I
jazz.
did also say jazz after you said it. Yes. I
Yeah.
don't want to paint the idea that you're like, well, Devin, since you brought this up, and I was like, well, technically I didn't. You did.
What do you think of the soundtrack of Bebop?
It's
Because that's a
jazz.
big part. Yeah. Did you like
Mhm.
it? Were you like, oh, these songs are good? Like,
I mean, it's jazz. I don't really dislike it. I don't think I'm gonna be like, oh, I have to go find that soundtrack and add it to my phone. I don't think I even could if I wanted to. But
oh, you could. It's all on Spotify. I love the soundtrack.
yeah.
I think it's great.
I mean, like I don't have anything against jazz, but it's also not like something that I actively look for either.
Yeah. I wouldn't talk too much about the music then. I just didn't know if it was like, oh yeah, like I really like this song. Um, I will say, okay, we're in spoilers now. The song that plays, okay, multiple spoilers I want to say. The song that plays when Spike is falling from the church, absolutely love it. A story I want to share is there was a time I was really disassociating about something, and I walked through where I used to live in Philadelphia just listening to that song. And strangely, that's nostalgic for me, even though it was like a bad situation. I was just sort of caught in that. Um, Another spoiler I want to share. Such a devastating moment. The song that plays when Ed leaves. I think it's called Call Me. I think it might just be Call Me, but it's like Call Me, Call Me. Such an amazing scene. Like, I'm not the biggest Ed fan, as you know, because I was like, I
He
don't
hates
know, I
Ed.
don't
He's
like
told me
Ed.
on multiple occasions he does not like Ed.
I-
He said
In my
she's he
rewatch,
said that she's a brat, that she's undisciplined, that like that you should hit her. Like he said all kinds of crazy things.
I didn't say that. I may have said the brat thing. I may have been,
I mean, if you say undisciplined, then that implies that you think that there should be some discipline. So
I will say she was a lot better, and I really liked to talk about some episodes here. Her leaving has a great introduction because in the episode
when
prior, that's the one where Jet and her team up. Well,
so
actually, it's the whole team teaming up.
so I haven't talked a lot about my thoughts on like characters or anything else.
Yeah,
But for the fans here, um, Ed was like one of my favorite characters on the cast. So in the episode where Ed left, I kind of got the sense, okay, this is the end. Because I was like, okay, we've just lost the heart of the team. Like, things are not going to go well from here.
yeah, yeah. And what I think is so interesting is so Cowboy Bebop only has one series. It's just 26 episodes and that's it. And a film. Um, the film it takes place between the two episodes of like Ed's still here and Ed has left. So it's like the furthest point of character development for everyone. Um, Before the big change. What I think is interesting is I don't know which episode specifically, but let's say it's like 18, 19. When those were in production, the creators were like, oh, this is such a fun universe. We can do so much. But they had always intended on this being 26 episodes. So they're like, do we change that plan? And they ultimately decided, no, we have a plan. We need to just keep doing what we're doing because the whole series is foreshadowing that conclusion. The ending with Spike. Um, and it is genius in that. I don't know how much you've looked into it, but okay, we are deep in spoilers. So if we've convinced you to watch this at all, don't watch this anymore. But um, okay, so Spike's final words before dying is him going bang, right? And there's the episode with the kid. Well, it's the grown person that visually looks like a child, and then the end of the episode is him dying, and he says something like, "Oh, so this is what it feels like to have a good death or whatever." And Spike blows the harmonica, says something sarcastic, and then like throws it in the air and says bang. Because he's like, yeah, I don't know what it means to have a good death. Because his whole thing is like, he's like, oh, I'm already dead, and he's all depressed like that. And I love that because it almost implies that the ending where he does say bang is like, I finally understand what it means to die. I know what that guy was talking about. I love that. There's smaller details like he passes by a screen at one point that's watching a film, and it's like the only way to kill a samurai is to be killed by a samurai or something like that. And that refers to Vicious. There's so much good foreshadowing. There's even the first villain is a guy and a girl who basically died together, and there's very similar parallels to Spike and Julia. I don't know how much you like looked into this, but it's like, oh, this is so clever. I love reading into Bebop. This is so juicy. This is why I like it. I like the action. I like the music, but I love the juiciness of like just that extra little bit of flavor. That's what elevates it to me. It's not just like an adventure of the week for me. It's like, oh yeah, like what we're getting into. Like, make me depressed. What did you think of the ending?
I mean, I was like, Spike's an idiot. I don't know why he did that. Um, I mean, I actually I know I do understand why he did it. Doesn't mean I agree with him. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I was kind of confused because it seems like his whole thing was is that he wanted Julia back, and then once he got Julia back, he was like, no, I want to actually kill Vicious. That's what I really want to do. And he gets Julia killed, and then he's like upset. He's like, how did this happen? Essentially,
Does he say he wants to kill fishes?
no,
Do
but
we?
Julia was like, "Hey, we should just get out of here," and she's like, "But you're not going to, are you? You're gonna stay here until Vicious is dead."
Maybe he's thinking. I can't really remember that part. I've probably taken too much like notes at that point. But I maybe it was a case of like, no, but we're not safe until that moment.
I see. The only way I could really justify it in my head was that it was more of a him thinking of like Vicious is a really bad guy, and as much as I would like to just leave and just focus on me, I'm going to have to do the right thing here and get rid of him because I'm probably the only one who can.
Oh yeah,
That's the only
I'd have
way I
to.
could justify it in my head. Because otherwise, I'm just like, okay, so his whole thing was he wanted to be back with her. But then the moment he gets the chance to go do that, he says no, and I'm going to go kill that guy instead. Even though he fully almost kind of acknowledges that he realized it's a suicide mission. So it's like, okay, so you didn't really want to be with Julia. You just kind of want to kill Vicious. That's your main thing now? I don't know. I don't know. I felt a
Yeah,
little like confused by all of it at the end there.
yeah.
I think
I
more than
love.
anything, he just kind of like I know he said I'm not going there to die. I'm there going there to see if I was truly alive. I think he did just kind of want to die.
Yeah, it was there was no coming back for that. And one of the things, like if I don't hate the ending, I love the ending, but one of the
And I'm
like
not saying
little
I
bit of
hated
like,
it. I'm
oh no
just
no no, yeah, I'm just saying like if you could give me like one like additional scene, I want to know what happens to Faye and Jet. I want do they stick together?
I would imagine
I've
probably
read that
not.
yeah, the creator like Spike was what was keeping those two together. Like
I
him
mean,
gone, it's not.
to be fair, like at that point, it's no longer like kind of like how like I don't know. I feel like two people is not exactly a family, whereas three is kind of like, okay, we have a group here. And
Yeah,
they had their own little like family that, lost a sizable amount of the heart with the departure of Ryan or Ein and Ed. But, theoretically they could keep going on with just the three of them. But when you lose Jet as well, it's like, okay, well, we really don't have a family anymore. We just have two people. And that's
yeah,
why I was like, nah, there's really no reason for the two of them to stick together, especially when they've lost everybody else. Yeah, it's cooked.
yeah. I mean, it is like I know I'm not the like Ed person, but like yeah, that is devastating. I
I
think I
was
wrote in
genuinely more upset when Ed left than I was when Spike died.
yeah. I mean, it is the way they just eat those eggs.
I think it's also the fact that, like, when Ed and Ein leave, you kind of already know the family is broken. So when it gets to the point with Jet dying, it's just kind of like well, this kind of just felt like the trajectory we were already on.
Yeah, yeah. It's it's such a good. I can't think of a better ending for this story. Like it is so. I love the final words that appear on the screen, like the classic bebop text of like "See ya, cowboy," and like there's a few variants. There's a great variant in the film, which I still quote. Um, I quote the first and final lines of the film to myself all the time. But the little text that pops up. Love it in the film. But the final text has haunted me of the series. Is it? I want to quote it correctly just because like I don't want to get it wrong. Um, let's see. Right, okay. Because I say, yeah, you're gonna carry that weight. God, like there's so much you can read into that. Like it's so good. Oh my god, it's haunting. Like, can you believe there are some people out there? I don't want to dismiss any fan theories. There are people out there like Spike's still alive. You're in denial. He's dead.
Yeah.
He's dead. It's tragic. He's dead. He's gone. Um, I do want to talk about some random episodes. Just get your opinion. Um, So, you know the episode where there's like the food in the fridge?
Yeah, that was a
And
gross one. I didn't like that.
so I can't remember what series. Oh, it's like Space Dandy or something like that. It was another series by the person that made Bebop. The fridge appears in one of the episodes, implying that there's a shared universe, which I think is interesting. Um, let's just talk about some of your favorite episodes. Then I've got a list. And
Yeah, I
I'll.
honestly I have notes here. I haven't really been doing much with
Oh yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah. You go ahead. Yeah,
So, like, obviously, I really liked the Jet backstory episode. That was the episode where things really clicked. I can't say I was like a super big fan of the episode specifically when Radical Edward was introduced, but I loved Ed as a character, like, basically throughout it. I have a
yeah,
note here saying that I really like the episode with Faye's backstory, where we kind of get a sense of like what's actually going on with them.
yeah, yeah.
I have a
I
note
think
here
that's
just saying I was a fan of Gren, which I don't know what that means to you, but I did write that down.
no. Gren is someone that I would like to talk to a trans or non-binary person just to get their opinion on because I'm like, oh, I wonder, like, is this appropriate? It didn't like seem inappropriate, but I'm obviously not an expert here. Um, I I was really just there's an interesting connection even beyond that between Gren and Vicious and how Vicious is so prepared to sell him out. Um, and the episode doesn't even make it clear if Gren was a traitor or it was just Vicious trying to get ahead. I really like how that's left ambiguous. But yeah, that's a good one.
I also have on here. So this was actually one of my favorite episodes. I really liked the chess episode, and I was a huge fan of the Hex and Edwards chess match, with just how excited both of them were to play. I was like that. That really that makes me feel good. I like how into both of them were, to the point where it's like 2 weeks later and they're still playing the same game until finally Edward is beaten, and she is just so upset about it because he wasted 2 weeks doing this.
Yeah, I like the like big emotional climax of that episode being like, no, we don't want anything because we just want our friend to have their like chess partner or whatever. Like
Well,
just
I
sort of
also thought it
show
was
like
interesting too. Like the whole villain of that whole episode was like, yeah, he put this in place, but he's long been gone mentally. Like he's no longer that guy anymore. Now he's just an old man who
yeah,
likes to play chess.
yeah, that's an interesting like point. Yeah. I don't remember loving that episode, but I do
I loved it.
remember
I remember loving
I
it.
think I thought it was okay. I think it was okay for me. Um,
I also have a note that just says emotional VHS episode, which was the like whole thing with Faye's backstory.
yes. Oh, love that one.
And
Love, love how that goes.
one of my last notes before we just kind of get into like my thoughts on like the ending and like the series as a whole was just Marshall Banana. Which
What
is,
is this?
yeah, so this was kind of my response because I throughout the series I told Scott that I really liked Ed, and every time I felt like I was getting pushback of like, oh no, Ed sucks, I don't like Ed at all, and I was like, are you kidding me? In the VR World episode, like she has to make Jet a name to get into the VR system, and she just types in Marshall Banana for his name. I was like, that's comedy right there. Like, what are you talking about? That's amazing.
Yeah. And I really hope I didn't make you think like, oh no, liking Ed is wrong. I am in the minority here.
Oh, you did tell
Most
me
of the fan
that. I
base,
was just like, I just can't believe that you just don't like Ed. There was
yeah,
more just that.
yeah, I don't think I really hope I didn't make it seem like you are wrong for liking Ed. Like Ed is terrible. I just don't. I like them more this time, but I still can't sanction the tomfoolery. Um,
And
I have a
that
few.
is just crazy coming from you specifically.
I have a few like
As the
episode
one
questions.
who's always doing whimsical, wacky things, he goes, I hate it when people are whimsy and wacky. Like, what are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. Your character
I have
assassinating yourself.
I have a few additional like episode questions I want to ask. Just like your opinion on ones that I
I
personally
would
really
like
like.
to get one of my notes in here at
Oh
the
yeah,
end.
yeah,
My main character ranking, because I felt like that was something interesting that I wanted to talk about.
yeah,
So I thought Jet was the best character in the show. He was at the top of my list of characters that I liked. Every time I saw Jet, I was like, this guy rules. And there wasn't a single thing he did in the show where I was like, he was wrong for that, or that's stupid of him, or something like that. Like, no, I love Jet. Everything he did, I was like, this guy fucking rules. His voice actor
yeah.
rules, his design rules. Like, everything about Jet ruled. Second on my list, Ed, because I actually really liked Ed. I thought that the whimsy and lightheartedness in a otherwise very depressing series was much needed and appreciated. Spike was kind of the middle because I was like, okay, he's kind of fun sometimes, kind of dramatic the other times, and then dramatic's good too. But like, we don't need like if it's sad all the time, then it's just sad. But if you got a little bit of both, then you're in a good spot. I also relate to Spike, which, you kind of put that in my head from the get go, saying that I was Spike. Then there was Faye, which is lower on my list because, and it's interesting because, like, I don't dislike Faye, but one, I like the other characters better, and two, I think Faye reminds me sometimes of the worst parts of myself. And that's part of the reason why I also put them lower on the list. Because like in
Interesting.
a way I relate to them, but I don't like what I'm seeing because I'm relating to parts of her that I don't like in myself.
Yeah.
And then
I
at the
relate to
bottom of my
Faye.
list, just to
But yeah,
finish off my list real quick, is Ein because he's the dog, and that's not because he's bad.
yeah,
He's a
but
good
Iron's cute.
he's a good dog, but like it felt demeaning to put any actual human below him on the main character ranking because
Did I ever tell
he
you?
is just a dog.
Did I tell you about Iron and my mum?
Is your mom Ein?
No, no. So
There's a really funny joke here,
after
but I can't say
rewatching the
this.
series, well, no, after rewatching the series, I was like, you know what? Maybe if I get a dog, I would get a corgi like Iron. And I brought this
No,
up
you
to my
told me
mum.
this. You told me this. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Did we talk about it on the video?
If you
Real
want
quickly.
to, but I do want to say real quick the fact that you said, did I, my mom and I, did I ever tell you the story about that? And it sounded like
Yeah.
you were about to say, well, the story is that my mom's a real bitch because it's like a dog or something like that. And I was like, maybe I shouldn't say it. And I was like, nah, I'm going to say it anyways. So, okay. But if you want to tell them
So
the story, go ahead.
yeah, I feel we've lost the momentum of the story at this point. It's fine. I have a few like episodes that I want to ask your opinion on because you didn't mention them. I'm
Uh-huh.
guessing these didn't resonate with you, but I still want to ask about them anyway because they matter to me. So, what did you think of Mushroom Samba, the one where they?
I thought it was very racist, actually.
Yeah,
It was a very racist episode,
yeah.
to be honest with you. I'll
It
say there was some fun moments in it, but there was a lot of racist undertones here.
Yeah, it is. I think this series is very forward thinking in a lot of ways. Maybe not this one. I feel like so there's like a genre film and it's like things like Shaft and some people have tried to reclaim that. Other people are like, no, it should be left in the past. Like it's a bit like that. But it's
I will
hard to know
say,
like where's this coming from a Japanese series.
yeah,
So yeah.
that did not help, and the fact that like a lot of it was just like, oh, well, here's these African American characters, and what's happening with them? Well, one's a drug dealer, one is an innocent person that's going to get arrested by the police, and there is like I don't remember what the third one was, but my point is that the portrayal overall was not good, and I was like,
Yeah,
this is just not good. But I was like, it wasn't bad enough to the point where I'm like, I feel like I don't want to let people know that I watched this. But it was still just like this probably did not age as well as a lot of the other episodes.
yeah, yeah. Um, Another like this might be my favorite. Like if you just asked me like Scott, like what's your favorite Bebop episode, and I wasn't thinking about like character dynamics or anything like that. Pierre LeFou, the one with the mad clown. Like oh my god, is that such a good episode? Uh, I love it. I love every moment. I
Well,
get
yeah, because that's
chills
just you
every
as an
time.
old man. He hates cats. He's like, oh, look at me. I dress all fancy and I'm whimsical. Bang, bang.
I fly around.
He's very British
um,
coded in the way he's dressed, so.
yeah. So this episode was inspired by Batman the animated series, believe it or not. um, I love that. If you have somehow watched this video despite Devin and I talking about spoilers, and you want to watch an episode, this might not even be the best first episode, but if you want something that will genuinely give you chills, watch this episode because the way this guy like grinds his teeth is such a like he's such a good villain as like hey I'm just insane.
See,
My
I like how
least
that's your
favorite.
definition of a good villain. He's just nuts. Like
No,
what? Like that your criteria is he crazy? Yes. Well, that's a good villain right there.
well, no, I just mean
Big
as like a
Joker fan
one-off.
right here.
villain. I mean, if we want to talk about a really good villain, I don't think I'll live past today. No, he's a good villain.
That's gonna make
Um,
no sense to anyone but me and you. I want you to know that.
but but you can. You haven't hurt anyone yet.
There might
My
be
least favorite.
there might be one person from this audience that is like the mentalist and be like that. I got that reference. I don't think most people
Max
will.
Max should get it because I told him about it, but he's probably forgotten.
I'm
Um,
gonna say, out of everything that happened on that weekend, do you think that's the thing that he's coming home with?
yes, it should be. It should be. And the thing that I left in between the hinges of his 3DS, I put something in his 3DS.
It's a picture of my
I
penis.
I will say this is maybe the last episode that we'll talk about specifically. Probably the biggest sort of boost in terms of like quality for me and like, oh, this became one of my favorites because of my rewatch was Brain Scratch, the one about the cult. When I wrote that to Holly, that started like, I wonder where I'll go with this, and it's based on a real cult. Um,
That's the
and
episode with Marshall Banana.
yeah, so you like that for that reason.
I had to point that
But
out because the fans need to know that.
um, I fell in love with that episode because I just did this like deep dive, like, oh my god, I had this like massive epiphany about like people like Alex Jones and Ben Shapiro and like all these awful monsters. I'm like, oh my god, like an episode about a cult made me piece together like a lot of things. They just like I don't even want to say seriously. If you want like a good philosophical episode, I feel like Zach would like this episode a lot. Um, Brain Scratch is like maybe the best 23 minutes of like a philosophical television you will ever watch. Truly, highly, highly recommend. And there's so many episodes in here. There's some episodes I'm just like that was a lot of fun. There's some episodes I'm like that was really insightful. I also love Waltz of Venus just about a guy. Like he's like, I want to be your biggest fan. I love Sympathy for the Devil. I love Ballad for Fallen or Ballad of Fallen Angels. I keep wanting to call it For Fallen Angels. There's so many just classic episodes. Devon said that he took up until maybe episode 10 to get the series. When I was watching it with Holly, it was episode 5. And that's where, when I was rewatching it, that's where it's like, yeah, this is where Bebop like heats up. That's where it really starts to like show its hand, and it's like, yep, this isn't just going to be fun. There's going to be some depressing episodes, but it'll be different for different people. Some people might never get it. I've met loads of people like that. My friend Michael, the one that I mentioned earlier, um, he would watch random episodes of me at university. He would like, Scott, what is this even about? Like, it seems like every time he watches it, it's different, and that's why I enjoy it. Like, I think it's just so unique in that aspect. And quite honestly, I'm like thinking, when can I rewatch this next? Like,
Well, I also
when will
think
it be?
that's the wrong way to watch Bebop. You can't just watch random episodes. Like you kind of need to watch all of them to really understand what the show's about. Like I said, that's why it
Yeah,
took me 10 episodes to get it because I it doesn't seem like it's about anything until you finally realize that the actual overarching theme about it is this is a show about the stories of people and their lives.
yeah.
Like
And
that
if I were to recommend this to watch in any way, I'd say watch in pairs. Like watch 2 episodes, then like stop for the day, watch 2 episodes. Because I do think these episodes work well together typically. Um,
in
so
my
Holly,
case,
who I yeah,
in
you
my
just watch
case,
that.
I watched like 2 episodes, then 2 episodes. Then Scott brought up the fact that I hadn't watched any episodes in a long time. And I watched like 10 to episodes, then like another 8 episodes. I just kind of fucking went at it because I was like, if I take this slow, I will never get through this because I'm not like I think that's another reason why I actually only caught on to it at 10 because I took it so slow that I was like, I'm not getting what the show's about. But when I sat there and made myself watch like 6 episodes in a row after I'd watched the first 4, I was like, okay, I can actually see a theme here now that I'm like making myself sit down and watch a bunch of it.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. That was me
Okay.
personally, but
No, I mean, it will be different for different people. That's just my suggestion because it is so. It's only 26 episodes, so it's like, okay, if I pace myself or I do it like you do, like you'll get through it.
I will say, as someone
Yeah,
who generally with an anime will say, if I don't like the first two episodes, I'm probably not going to like the show and I'll probably stop there. This is one of those that kind of breaks that rule where it's like, no, for me, I needed like 10 episodes to really get it. But once I got it, I liked
you
it,
needed me
obviously.
to badger you. You need me, Devin.
No,
Please, you just need
actually,
to say
I will
something.
tell you that actually probably did not help you. I'm
I
gonna
know
say,
it probably.
well, because I'm a person that hates being told what to do, and I will only do things when I feel like they are my thoughts and my own like decision to do it. So when I get told you need to do this, my brain like screams at me and goes, "Do not do it. Don't listen to them. Don't do what they tell you to do." Because I hate
Yeah,
following orders. So I'm like,
but e- equally, okay, I get that because I'm the same way. But you had previously said, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that,"
no, I
and
did. I did feel like and I needed to get back to it. It was just like a when it feels like it is a obligation instead of something I'm doing for fun, I am a lot less willing to do it. Like when I feel
yeah,
like I am doing it as a chore versus like a way to relax and have fun, it's also a different thing. Because, like I said, up until that point, I really hadn't gotten into the show yet, so it was more of a like, oh, I need to do this versus a, oh, I want to do this, you know? But
yeah,
actually, like I said, once I got past that 10 episode mark, I was less of a, I'm doing this because I have to do this, and more of, I want to do this.
mhm, yeah. So I guess my question for you is: do you think you'd ever rewatch the series? Do you think, you know what, I get it, I've done it, or you think I'd like to
So I
revisit
have
this
I
series?
have a hard time rewatching things in general. So I didn't actually say this earlier. JoJo's probably one of my favorite animes. Um, I don't remember the last time I actually sat and rewatched a full part of JoJo. Like I can sometimes turn on random episodes and have fun with it. Typically, if I'm going back, I go to part three specifically to rewatch like episodes. But actually sitting and rewatching all of it, I don't do that with like anything. So I love to put things on in the background. I do not watch TV in general typically unless I'm watching it for the first time because I want to know how the story goes. I have a really hard time just sitting still and watching things because I constantly feel like I am wasting time by doing so. And obviously, I really enjoy the things I watch, so it's not a waste of time, but I feel like I need to be playing video games because that's something I have to actively do. And I'm like, okay, well, I can measure like how much I've done by saying, well, I did all this in the video game, I did all that. And it's a bit more of an accomplishment in my mind versus saying like, oh, well, I sat down and watched TV all day. I don't know. It's a weird thing where I really do have a hard time rewatching stuff. So realistically, I'm not saying I'll never rewatch it. If I do rewatch it, it'll be more because I've forgotten about a lot of it at that point,
Yeah,
and I'm curious to watch it again. But that will probably be at least probably a couple years from now, I would imagine.
yeah. I'm not even saying you need to. Like, there's plenty of
No,
films that I've watched where I'm like,
it's
I
just
really like
a
this.
yeah. Like
Yeah,
it maybe if I threw it on the background, but then again, if you're just throwing it in the background, are you really watching it? I guess is my question.
yeah. I don't know. I mean,
I'm not actively
yeah,
watching at that point, but like passively
yeah.
watching maybe.
I feel like we need to address the live action reboot
I mean,
in
I
the
still have
room.
thoughts about the actual show that I wanted to get to at some point.
Oh yeah, yeah. Go ahead, go ahead.
So, Something I really liked about the show, and it's something that I love in fictional media in general, is the idea of found families. And I really like how Bebop specifically really goes into that because it starts off as just Jet and Spike. And it's just kind of like, oh, well, they're just a couple of mercenaries. And it's like, okay, well, they have kind of a weird relationship. Don't really know how they feel about each other. Then you get Ein, and it's like, okay, well now they have a dog, so that's interesting. Then Faye comes around, and then Faye leaves. It's kind of like a okay, well now they also feel like they kind of have a relationship with her, and it's kind of growing a little bit. And then they get Ed, and then it's like, okay, now we have a relationship with basically two uncles and their like niece and their pet dog who she loves to play with and their aunt that occasionally comes in and is hanging around more and more often, and it's like okay, now we have an actual little family here, and it's so cute and I love it. And I love that literally none of them have a reason to like actually fully stick with each other. It is the fact that they all choose to stick with each other as that kind of almost family, a found family. And I love that about it. Like I love found families as someone who is very much a big proponent of them. And I think that's why it hurt all the much more when Ed and I leave and you can see that family fall apart. Because the very next episode, like obviously before that, Faye kinda is like sort of leaving, but that's just kind of what Faye does, so it's not really a big indicator that something's really fully changed because Faye comes and goes so much throughout the series. But with Ed and Ein leaving, you're like, oh, no, this is actually done now. And you can see the effect that it has on Jet and Spike specifically. Like, you talk about the egg scene. I don't know if that's really the moment where it hits for me. It is specifically the next episode when they're sitting in the bar and you can see, like, Jet's actively talking about it, but Spike is just, like, genuinely looks depressed, like he's been drinking a bunch. You can tell they are both very upset about this found family of theirs breaking
Yeah,
up. And I don't know, it's
yeah.
just a such a heartbreaking thing from that standpoint personally. And I like it a lot though. But like I said, I love found families. I like the idea of people that have no reason to stick together but choose to. I like that a lot.
I don't know how many people from the Discord will have stayed this long watching this video, but I'll say it anyway in case they are watching. I had the thought at the wedding this weekend where it was like, you know, this is sort of like our family, like
Yeah.
all the friends we have there, and like, yeah, we've got our own families, but it's nice to sort of feel like this group are united together, and that's like our bebop.
Yeah. And I feel similarly. I didn't say it only because I'm like I don't want to be the mushy emotional guy that's like saying that.
That's more my rule.
Well, the thing is that I'm very emotionally guarded, and if I don't feel like people reciprocate my feelings, I typically don't share them. So that's how I feel. But I'm more willing to
Whatever.
open up after I hear that somebody else has already said it.
Hmm. Well, I said that after you.
Well, you said it first, kinda, and then I followed suit.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. What else is on your notes?
No, that was about it. I wanted to bring that up because I was like, I mean, I guess I could talk about the ways that I relate to Spike and Faye. Like, Spike is honestly, I think the biggest reason I relate to him is the depression, which isn't a great thing to like. Neither of those characters I feel like I relate to in a good way, and I'm like, I fully do agree with you when you're like, oh yeah, I see your Spike. I can see it. It's not a. I don't think it's a good thing that I can see it because it's not a good thing in the ways that I see myself relating to him. Like he is a depressed man who feels like his life has essentially already passed and is basically just going through the motions of the rest of his life. As someone whose life changed dramatically the moment I became an adult, essentially, I can understand the feeling of, oh, yeah, that life is kind of just gone. Because
Yeah,
for people that don't know, I was diagnosed at 18, essentially. As soon as I became an adult, I was told that I was dying. So, uh, if that doesn't tell you how my transition into adulthood went, I don't know what will. But there's also the ways I relate to Faye, and I've said it before that I don't like the ways that I relate to Faye. Faye is obviously very emotionally guarded, does not let people know what she's feeling. When things get too serious, she tries to back away because she doesn't know how to deal with those feelings. She is also on the surface level selfish, and that is not me saying stuff bad about her. It is something that she needs to do to protect herself, and something that she feels like if I don't protect myself, nobody will, so I have to do this. And I also have moments where I feel very selfish and I don't care for it. So like I said, there was a lot of things I saw in Faye that I'm like, the reason I don't like her is because I'm seeing a lot of my, in my opinion, worst traits basically in her. But I think she's a good character. I think she's great. Obviously, I like some of the other characters better, which is why she's lower on the list, but she is by no
yeah,
means a bad character. I just don't like
yeah,
how I don't like the mirror that gets held up to me when I see her.
yeah. You think the other characters above them are like excellent to great, or maybe even good, and she's like, yeah, she's all right to you. Like she's
I
not
think no,
bad. But she
I
doesn't-
would say that every character is good. I would not say that any of them are below good. I think that they are
Yeah,
all good characters. I and which is above all right to be very clear. Now,
yeah.
I'd say they're all good, but I'd say that when we get to Ed and Jet, they're obviously great. So, I like them. I like those two characters much more than I like Spike and Faye. And I think it's because those they represent the traits I want to live in my life. I want to have energy. I want to be cheerful. I want to be wacky. I want to be honorable. I want to be a good man. I want to be, you know, someone who respects the decisions that other people make. And while I will probably complain about them, I will also be like, I understand why you need to do that. I don't know. I like those characters because yeah, they have the traits that I want in my own life that I
Do
try
you
to
think they've
strive for.
changed?
Huh?
Yeah, do you think now leaving the series behind, do you think that's who I'll try to be? Or
Well, I try to have more energy when I can. Um, Getting sick for like 3 weeks has not helped, but
we should say that we were going to record this before
yeah, yeah.
before we
This
end.
was like scheduled for like 3 weeks back, but I got sick and I genuinely like I tried. I was like, I don't want to cancel this. It wasn't until like 4 o'clock that day that I was like, I can't do this, Scott. I feel absolutely awful.
You're like, Scott, you need to record something yourself. I'm like, I don't know, I've got this.
Yeah, but no, yeah, I think that I've and it's something that I've noticed a lot. And like it's this isn't like Ed wasn't the catalyst for me being like, no, I need to have more energy in my life. It was just another reminder of like hey, don't forget that's something that you want to do. And I was like, okay, no, yeah, I gotta keep doing that. And I think in a lot of ways I already have been trying to act more like Jet, and I'm going to try to continue to act like Jet. It is just kind of a thing where it's like doing the right thing is often sometimes the more tiring thing as well.
Mhm.
And as someone who constantly feels like they do not have energy, a little bit of depression there, it is something that I struggle with. But I will constantly try. And that's what I can say.
And I think, to bring it to Devus Scottus, like, that's something I've noticed this year is like, maybe it is just sort of forcing yourself to look at things in a new way. But that's what I've been enjoying as a viewer of your content. It's like, oh yeah, I'm seeing Devon enjoying these things and be wacky, and I think maybe you're enjoying that, and you've spoken about that in videos. Like, yeah, like I'm sort of forced to do that. Like, I think I don't know in which video, but you said something like, I really just feel like I'm like, doing something this
Yeah.
year, and I think you always were doing something, but it's good to see that this is forcing you to see the something.
Yeah, it's a lot of ways forcing me to change my perspective, which is good. Now, I will say we are grossly over budget on time for this episode.
You're not gonna edit this.
I had dinner with
Whatever.
my dad tonight, so I actually have to get this wrapped up eventually. So,
Yeah,
do we have
that's
any like closing thoughts here on things we want to talk about before we try to close this out? Or
closing thoughts is it sounds like we were both positive.
yeah,
I guess my not that we'll do another video like this unless we think of something good, but I guess what's next? What are you going to watch next?
so I have told people that because I started Devus Scottus watching Jujutsu Kaisen, that I feel like I should come back to that. Because I watched the first episode of that and I was like, that was dope. I'm glad I started that. And then I
Yeah.
just have not watched any more of it because Scott was like me getting like goblin mode when I essentially see that Devin's watching a different anime now instead of watching Cowboy Bebop. And I was like, you know what, that's fair. Because honestly, I do the same thing with video games sometimes. Like, I'll start a video game and I was like, oh, that's a lot of fun. And then I'll get distracted by another video game. I was like, oh, this is a lot of fun too. And then I'll get mad at myself because I'm like, no, Devin, if you abandon that other game, you will not come back to it. Finish that goddamn game and then you're allowed to go play another game. And I almost started doing that with Fire Emblem because I was like, I should go play Resident Evil. But then I beat Resident Evil on one day, so Resident Evil 3 remake to be very clear.
Oh
I
yeah.
I beat it
Yeah.
all in one day, so I didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be excited to hear your thoughts on that. I've never seen it. Yeah. Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh, I thought you meant Resident Evil 3. And I was like,
I
that's
took a
not
leap
right.
of
I was like, I've seen it on your shelf in one of the videos. Like, you can't tell me you don't
that.
have it. I know you have
See
that
what
game.
you do. Bye.